Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Sticky Learning Lunch. We're just waiting for the last few people to arrive. Some good numbers of early arrivers this afternoon, sorry. So we're just going to give it 30 more seconds while we're letting the last of those people come in, and then we're going to get cracking, fired up and fired into what we're going to be covering today with PDPs, Personal Development Planning, and helping to erase some of those common myths or those mindsets we have around it, so that actually we're making the most out of it. Actually, we are using them for what they're actually, and they're there for, and actually doing something about it, and making sure that we are putting all our intention, our attention into these things, so that we're taking the action, we're causing the movement, and we're deliberately going where we want to go to. So just to give it 30 more seconds. So setting everyone up for success. Mobile phones, let's make sure everyone's got their mobile phones up, wave them nice and high, and then put them on flight mode. Let's remove the distractions for the next 30 minutes. If you've got your email open, close it. If you've got your, he says, I haven't even done mine. So if you've got any other social media open, close it down. Let's make sure that we're removing the distractions and making sure that we are fully engaged in what we're doing and helping with the learning here. Bear with me. So let's do this. Let's come off the full screens, get you on here, get you with me. So what are we covering today? Today we are going to be covering the first part of this week's micro learnings from MBM, Making Business Matter, on personal development planning. My name is Nathan Simmonds, Senior Leadership Coach and Trainer for MBM, the home of sticky learning. We are the leadership development and soft skills provider to the grocery and manufacturing industry. Idea of these lunches is to give you some daily content. Don't seem to be able to hear you. Oh. Can everyone else hear me before I keep going? Was it just Matt? Yes, I've got some yeses up there. Okay, yeah. Matt, might need to close it down, come back in, tweak and adjust your headphones, go this route. So we are leadership and soft skills provider to the grocery and manufacturing industry. The idea of these sessions is to give you daily content, micro learnings that's going to keep pushing your thinking one step further right now in this current moment, and also for when you return to whatever that normal is in a week's time, 2 weeks time, however that looks for you. These sessions are held here to help you be the best version of yourself. We have 5 days of PDP planning. What are we going to be covering? Quite a lot. In fact, I had a huge list. The importance of this, the structure of this, the mistakes that people make around this. I get really fired up about this sort of thing because it's really important, and not enough people are doing it on a daily basis. Said it before and I'll say it again. People spend more time planning a 2-week trip to Mexico than they do with their entire lives. And then they wonder why either they're miserable in what they're doing, or they're not getting the traction on where they want to be or where they would like to be. So let's let that sink in just for not even 30 seconds, 3 seconds, because of the time we've got, and making sure that we're getting that mindset. And do you know what? This is personal development. This is my plan. This is my goal. This is my aspiration, not somebody else's. So through the course of this week, we'll look at some of the structures, we'll look at some of the models, we'll look at mostly the mindset that's going to keep you on track for doing it. So today, the first part we're going to be looking at now, and my wife reminded me of this just as I was preparing for this session today, it's not a form. This is the biggest mistake that people make when we're looking at our personal development. We get given a form by HR, we get given a form by our leader, and they say, fill this in. And then what starts to happen is it becomes a bit of a process, and we feel like we're being managed to make sure that the process is completed because we don't understand what's in it for us. We don't understand what's in it for me, which is one of the key problems with influencing skills. We get given the process and we're told to get on with it. And very rapidly, it becomes a box ticking exercise. It's not a form. Personal development is a way of thinking, it's a way of life, and it's something for you to get invested into for yourself, because the only investment that is ever guaranteed is the one that you make in yourself. And it comes with huge interest returns when we get it right. Personal development is a structure of thinking where we go, where do I want to be? Where can I see myself in the future? And imagining yourself in that place, so you can map forwards and engineer backwards and put the steps in place to make sure that you can put one foot in front of the other in order to create that thing that you saw in your head. Whatever the mind of man can conceive, he can achieve. Napoleon, where is he? He's somewhere on my bookshelf and I can't see. Napoleon Hill. Whatever the mind of man can conceive, he can achieve. So when you can see it, you can create it. But people can only see as far as they can think. So the personal development planning process is the route to start creating that map, to start using the coaching questions that I went through some of those with you last week, or even from our coaching cards, which you can get on the link after this training today. It's asking yourself some of those questions of, where do I want to be? Now, you don't need a form to fill that in. Yes, it's appropriate that you do write your goals down. Yes, it's appropriate that you start to map some of those things out, whether you're using mind mapping tools, whether you're using a to-do list, whatever it is. Where can I see myself in the future? How does that feel when I get that? That's not a form. That's a thinking about who you are and where you want to be and what you can create for the world around you. The second thing is not. Someone else's. It is not, let me clarify, let me go back. It is a personal development plan. It's not insert company name development plan. Very, very different. And people seem to get stuck on this. Again, feeding out of this is not a form. It's not somebody else's. It is yours. It is your responsibility to fill this form in, or to fill the paperwork in and get the thinking moving, so that you can direct where you want to get to in this life. It's not somebody else's to do that for you. This is yours. And it's really important that you are crafting time in your calendar, in your diary, quiet time, investing a percentage of your week, whether it's 5%, 10% or whatever, on a daily basis, to think about what it is I'm doing today and how is that moving me closer to where I want to be and the thing that I can see in my head. This is absolutely 100% your responsibility, because it is a personal development plan. Number 3. It's not for someone else to tell you what to do. School has its place. School has its challenges. And I'm not bashing, just reporting. School is a post-industrial revolution mechanism based on a factory environment to create factory workers. It creates a replicable and predictable understanding of what the economy will look like a year, 5 years, 10 years from now. That's what it was created for. Primarily, though, it teaches you 3 things: turn up on time, do as you're told, and live up to someone else's expectation. What do we mean by this? The trap that we get caught in when we're doing this means that when we're working and we've got our personal development plan, we spend our time waiting for someone else to tell us what to put into it. What job do you think I should be doing? What do you think my next action might be? Rather than taking our ownership for that. And what we do is we spend our time waiting for someone else to tell us what to do. The only thing that we get from waiting is older. That's it. So when we look at this, and it's not a form which we get stuck in, it's a process. It's not someone else's, it's our responsibility. And it's not for someone else to actually tell us what to do. When we shift these mindsets, we can start taking new actions and new intention to create the next steps. These are the first parts that get me really riled up about the personal development plan. I had to go in with these early doors. Hope this is useful so far. Bear with me. We're going to give some structures and give some ideas here. This part was really getting the emotions riled for me, and wanted to give that to you guys right now to understand the importance of personal development planning. Question. Going to set up a poll. We've got a poll set up. We're going to launch in a second. How long was it, or is it, since you looked at your own personal development plans? We'll fire that up for you now. Poll's now open. Everybody, clicking down the bottom there. When was the last time you looked at your personal development plan? 1 year, 6 months, 4 weeks. I love watching these polls. I love watching the little bars going up and down. If you've got the poll open, click on the link for the poll. Tell me how long ago it was you looked at your personal development plan last of all. Good. And so we've got a really interesting spread here. Very small amount, more than 1 year, some 18 months or more, okay? And also got a nice little spread there of the last 6 months to 4 weeks. I would hope with current situation that we have more people looking at it in the last 4 weeks and the last 6 months, because people have found really clearly that actually they're getting more work done. So you've got more time you can invest into your own personal growth. And it's important that we're keeping this stuff fresh. We're keeping it alive in our thinking. And that way we know that we can just put one foot in front of the other to make sure that regardless of what happens, regardless of which way the wind blows, regardless of what crisis lands on our desk or what situation we're in, that we can still put one foot in front of the other. Or we use the current situation to help us put one foot in front of the other. What is this situation teaching me about my capabilities, about what I'm actually able to do? And how does that keep me putting one foot in front of the other? 6 weeks ago, Making Business Matter wasn't delivering content in this format on a daily basis to support the people that we interact with. So what's COVID-19 and the current situation taught me personally about how I deliver, and also what's it taught the business as a team about how we help more people? So 27% of people said, you know, they've looked at it in the last 4 weeks, 27% 6 months, 18% 1 year, and 27% 18 months or more. We need to be having this stuff fresh in our thinking minimum once a week. That way, when we look at the structure and we start looking at the structure a bit today and through the course of this week, you'll have it fresh in your thinking. You'll have it at the front of you, in front of you all of the time, because you'll know what action I need to take today in order to get me where I need to be, because no one else is going to do it for you. Let me know in the questions box what's been useful so far from the 3 key points. Just when I'm going to get the next part up, start getting the next part on the board for you. What's been useful from those 3 key mindset shifts about personal development planning? What are you taking away from that moment? Love the part, not a form. Absolutely. Thank you. Ownership and buying completely. Thinking about me as a person. Because if you don't, no one else will. We work in too many businesses and too many companies where we are numbers, where we are no different to the products we're creating. And we are people first all of the time. It's not the form that is important, absolutely. Not another person's planet belongs to me and I'm responsible. Exactly that. Think, be forward, and then work backwards to achieve it. Absolutely. Map forward, engineer backwards. Step number 2 for today is the cycle. The first thing we want to do is establish direction. Where are we going? Talking about that holiday in Mexico, isn't it? We buy the destination, not the plane trip. We want to know where we're going. When we get into a meeting, a Zoom call, we want to have an agenda. We want to understand what the benefits of being here are. We want to know what the end point looks like. Clarify. When you understand where you're getting to, then you can understand actually what you need to clarify in order to improve yourself so you can get to that point. This is step 2. Because without understanding the final point, you won't understand the risks and challenges that need to be mitigated. We talked a little bit about this when we were looking at reality and the options from last week. When we put the end point in, the end postcode, when we put that in SatNav, it will show us where the road works, the car crashes, the issues and problems are, so that we can work our way around them in order to get there. When you know when you want to get wherever you want to get to in this part, it enables you to clarify the gaps in order to get there. Is it better to go by car? Is it better to go by train? What are the tools? And the last part is to formulate a plan. What does the strategy look like? It's 3 easy steps on this. The problem that we have with this is it's just a little bit dry when people put it down like this. We get these forms and we get these process maps and, oh, you've got to do this and you've got to book this conversation. Again, we need to make sure we're pulling away from the form, pulling away from the process, and remembering it's about the person. It's about them as an individual. It's about us as an individual. When you put these down on process maps and you put them down in documentation or in cycles, it just becomes a little bit dry. So what we need to do is we then need to personalize it and start looking at actually what our structure and our strategy is. And I may have written number 2 slightly too big for this whiteboard. So how do we structure it? How do we take it away from this dry process? How do we make sure it's engaging for us? And as I was thinking about this, and we're coming back to this, it's not for someone else to tell you what to do, and it's about establishing the direction. This analogy came to my head. It's the difference between pilots and pirates. Bear with me. When we go to school and we end up doing as we're told and learning that process, we're always waiting for someone else to tell us what to do. And as I said earlier, when you're looking at the holiday, when you're establishing that direction on where you want to get to, you buy a destination, not the journey. But the pilot sitting there in the cockpit of his plane, having this so-called wonderful life being a pilot and jetting all around the world, but he's still waiting to be told what to do by someone. He still has to go through his checklist, which he's given by somebody else to do. And there are plenty of pilots out there that have different career ambitions about what they would like to do with their life and their times. So it's all well and good having this so-called fantastic life and seeing all these places. We're still being given that information by somebody else. Now with a pirate, it's slightly different. And I'm not talking about, I'm talking about the fictitious pirates and those gallivanting off around the world and getting the riches and fighting the dragons. The difference between the pilot and the pirate is the pirate finds his own map. The pirate has his treasure and he's buried it somewhere. And X marks the spot, and we're going to go on an adventure to find that treasure and that gold, and we're going to go digging for it. So when we're starting to set up our plan, we have to make sure we personalize it. So when we go into this, and I'm mindful again of the language that I'm going to use here, because this does make, I've had this conversation with HR professionals and leaders previously, and this language does make people nervous. I'll explain it as we go. The first thing we need is an exit strategy. Everybody has to have an exit strategy. Regardless of where you are, what you're doing, the project you're working on is going to finish, and you'll need another project to take on after that. Every meeting you're going to be in is going to finish at some point. What do you want to get out of it? Every job is going to come to an end at some point, whether you get promoted, whether you leave, whether you are made redundant, or whether you retire. All these elements, you know, this is your exit strategy. These are the points that we know are inevitable and are going to happen. And in the grand scheme of things, we know as soon as we're born, the one thing that's actually is only guaranteed is that we know it will end at some point. So we have to be preparing for that point so that we can step over into whatever the next job is, whatever the next point is in our career or project or meetings. And we have to start gearing up for that, rather than having these peaks and troughs of jobs, of careers, of aspirations, rather than going like this and then we know it finishes and we go like that because we didn't have a plan to come out of it. Or maybe we think we're going to be retiring or doing something, and because of that, we start to wind down a little bit and just cruise out the end. And we end up doing this, and it looks more like a roller coaster, and it looks more like a stocks and trade sheet, rather than that hockey stick curve of exponential growth. When we understand what this looks like, we can then see it coming down the track, and we can prepare for it. So there isn't this dip of energy. There's actually an increase as we build up to it, because we know the next thing we're going to do is going to be even more exciting, even more entertaining, and even more engaging, because what we're doing now is the preparation to make that happen. And as I coach and teach and talk about goal setting and action structuring, you make every step forward a step up, and every step up the preparation for the next two steps. You make every step forward a step up, and every step up the preparation for the next two steps. That's why, or how, you end up with that gentle, nice sweeping curve, not even gentle, sweeping curve upwards of your own development. So make sure you understand what your exit strategy is. The next stage is you can break it down into 12 months. Then you can break down your 5-year, 3-year aspiration into the next 12 months. What do I need to be achieving in the next 12 months that lines me up for that? And we're going to look at these in a bit more depth as we go through this week. 90-day planning. The 12 months then breaks down into 90 days of solid, clear intention in one aspect primarily of what you're working on in that 12 months. Again, lining you up for the end of the 12, which lines you up to the exit strategy. Which then boils down to what am I doing right now today that is moving me towards that, regardless of what is happening. Why? Because what we've done is we've worked out this is my responsibility. It's not a form, it's not a process, it's not someone else's to delegate to, and it's not someone else to expect to tell me what to do. We come away from this cycle, we break it down into a clear structure. This is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, this is what my focuses are, this is what I'm actually taking action on today. And we start putting that in place so we can move it forward. Absolutely vital. Get your headspace right about your own personal development. Make the investment in yourself. And then we're going to start looking at the structure in tomorrow's session. If you haven't registered for tomorrow, and we're conscious of time, a lot to squeeze into this week. If you haven't registered for tomorrow's session, there's going to be a link in the comments, in the chat box right now for you to make sure that you do register for tomorrow. This, if you're waiting for someone else to tell you to do what to do, stop immediately. You have all of this information inside of you waiting to be put down in your own form, your own document of this. Through the course of this week, we're going to be developing and redefining our personal development plan, and we're going to be distributing that to you all as well. This is not for someone else to tell you what to do. It's not for you to wait for someone else to tell you what to do. The two elements of this, and it's a Simon Sinek quote, is be the leader you wish you had. If you're waiting for someone else to tell you what to do, you need to step up to that. Be the leader that you wish you had. And more importantly, be the leader that you know the world needs right now in the space that you are working. I'm hoping this is useful. I've gone at pace. There's been quite a lot of content I wanted to give to you. Link for tomorrow's session there. What's been useful from today's session? Please, let's light up the questions box. Tell me what's been useful. What are you taking away from today's 20 minutes, quite 25 minutes almost, session? What's been good? Please tell me. Pirates, brilliant. Thank you. 2 things. Give me some depth. Tell me what's been useful. Pilots and pirates, good. The schooling statement, wonderful. It is my personal plan. Absolutely, it is yours. Learning to think about myself. Thank you for today. Fantastic content. Your absolute pleasure. Break strategy down to 12 months, 90 days, and 1 day. Absolutely, Tim. Keep hold of this because we're going to break this down even further as we go through the week. Exit strategy. Agreed. Peaks and troughs, definitely. Step forward, step up. Absolutely. Preparation for the next 2 steps. Rather than thinking, I'm going to take 1 step and it's going to fall down. No. We congruently and calculatedly and consciously make those steps forward. It's like going upstairs. We know what the destination is. We know we're going, and we keep moving. I'm loving the structure. It's not a form, but gives us direction to better ourselves. Absolutely. Great info today. A little bit fast. I'm aware of it. Honestly, this subject gets me really rattled. The cycle breaks it down so simple. Yes, it is a super simple cycle. Again, just being mindful that it's the mindset of how we invest into it. What am I doing today to move me towards my goal? Please keep hold of this. I can do it. Yes, you can. First thing is coming to a close. Start planning for the next. Absolutely. Now, if you look at animals or insects or trees, they don't think, oh, you know what, I've done photosynthesizing for the day, or whatever. What's next? I don't know. Let's have a planning meeting about it. No, because they already know naturally what's going to happen. If you want to attend tomorrow, just see in the comments up there, please register below. Make sure you're in attendance. You've logged on there. Last questions from me as we're doing this. What questions have you got for me for today, please? What questions have you got right now about what we've covered so far today? Get them into the questions box. We'll work through those. So we've got tomorrow's session is already in the chat box, which I'm not sure which way I need to point to get you there. You can log on and register for tomorrow's session. Coaching cards. If you want instant access to a coach or some coaching questions, you can pick up the coaching cards. They're £5 on the system. Main pitfall of PDP completion. The biggest pitfall is the amount of time that leaders invest in this with their people. Correct, it's not for me to expect my leader to give me a personal development plan because it's mine. Yeah, the biggest pitfall is we only ever look at it once a year. We're lucky if we have a developmental conversation or a yearly appraisal, and some businesses are moving away from these dynamics of conversation. But if we are not spending time investing in this on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis, how can you know if you're achieving the stuff that you put down? How can you know what the things are that you need to flex in order to get you where you need to be? So it's the time that we invest, or the time that we think we don't need to invest because we're waiting for someone else to tell us when to invest in it. I'd like to say that's a complete joke. It's not even funny. Where can I get the coaching card for? Link in the chat box. Amazing, thank you. How do you start the plan? 1, know where you're going. What is the biggest impact that you want to create in the world? Where do you want to get to in 3 years, 5 years, whatever? What is that exit you want to be looking at? What is that goal you wish to step into? And when you understand that and you have that definition of destination, the enthusiasm escalates, and then you can start preparing and engineering backwards from that to know what your steps are. You made me realize that I wait for permission. Absolutely. What do you need, or what permission do you need to give yourself in order to live your fullest life and go and develop the fullest career that you need? What permission do you need to give yourself right now? Biggest pitfalls is often also lack of self-awareness. Absolutely, because you haven't been taught how to ask these questions to yourself, or by your leader hasn't been taught that. Nathan, what platform are you using? Is it clear and simple? Is that Zoom? This is GoToWebinar. I think if you're talking about software, this is GoToWebinar, and we're going to be looking at some other elements to bring this out. How do you stay accountable for making progress on your PDP? I'm going to use a really bad joke. I'm not a rabbit, you're not a frog. Let's not jump ahead. But thanks for the question, Tim. I hope everyone got that, because otherwise it was like, what? We're going to be covering the accountability piece a little bit more in tomorrow's session as we go through some of this. One of the key things is it's using yourself as your own biggest role model, rather than looking up to someone else and attempting to copy. You can be your own biggest role model and deliver the best possible results. How do you avoid frustration or roadblocks in the plan? You don't. You face into them fully. Again, it comes down to breaking down, where do I want to get to in my goal? How big is that? Okay, is it causing an emotional reaction because actually it feels too big, or you're starting to doubt yourself? Fear, doubt, and uncertainty means you're going in the right direction. When you get the frustration and the roadblocks, is then what do I need to learn from this? How do I use the failure mechanism in order to develop myself to keep moving forward? Crikey, these questions are coming in. We will look at some actual plans, mind maps, etc. We're going to break down the structure through this week, and we're going to look at some of the elements to include and how to create some foundations to bring this structure to life. And will we look at some actual plans? We'll give you a format and we'll work on that through the course of the week. Mind maps, maybe. Darren, who is the founder at MBM, one of our team here, one of the team, he loves doing a mind map, he loves doing a doodle. I wonder if he's got any he can show us, but I'll ask him and see if we can get them in. And we'll look at some real life versions. Guys, that sounds terrible, sorry. Everybody, I hope this was really useful. I hope you've enjoyed today's session. Thank you for the questions. The questions have been phenomenal. The one thing that I wanted to leave you with as I was looking at what was going on for today, coming up with, is this quote. I found this from Barack Obama. And this is huge, and it leads on from what I said about, is the only thing that we get if we wait is older. Change will not come if you wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. Who you want to be and what you want to create is just in here, and you just haven't learned the right question to ask yourself in order to make it happen. And this is what this week is going to be about, to make that happen for you. I really hope this has been useful. I hope you've enjoyed today's session. Crikey, we've gone crazy. We've gone a little bit over. Apologies if I've made anyone late for the next meeting. But coaching cards, if you wish to pick up your deck, they're on our website. The link is in the chat box. And we've also got the virtual classrooms. The virtual classrooms, if you want to build some of these skills, if you want to work with us to improve these in yourself, in your teams, in your leadership style, click on the link for the virtual classrooms and let's see how we can help you. Because we've got plenty more content on the website and we want to give you as much as possible to help you create the biggest possible impact. Everybody, thank you very much for today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your day.